There are forces of good and forces of evil at work in the world today. What are these forces? Who is responsible for the good? And who is responsible for the evil? Richard Shoff talks about current events which are rarely discussed by the mainstream media, events that affect us all. This program seeks to identify, to inform, and to equip the believer for what's ahead. Welcome to What in the World is Going On?
Now let's look at some things on the invasion of our southern border. The family and illegal immigrant surge is at record levels. The number of illegal immigrants entering the United States with their children reached record levels in 3 months since Donald Trump ended a controversial family separation policy. That was reported by the Washington Post. According to the Post, which cited Department of Homeland Security statistics, Border Patrol agents arrested 16,500 family members in September. That was the highest one-month total on record, and an 80% increase from July. The most recent surge has included groups of 100 or more Central American parents and children crossing the Rio Grande and the deserts of Arizona to turn themselves in. The families citing a fear of return to their native countries are typically assigned at court days, released from custody, and get lost and never appear. We're really getting hammered, one unnamed Border Patrol agent in South Texas noted. It's really getting bad. Trump has lashed out at a new caravan of 2,000 immigrants, mostly from Honduras, who crossed into Guatemala late Monday, pushing past police roadblocks, tweeting the blaming rest with Democrats, who won't approve legislation that will allow laws for protecting our country. You know, they stopped him from building the wall to the extent that he's hoped and promised. The migration of 4,000 immigrants from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador can be categorized as an invasion by constitutional definition, giving President Trump the authority to use the military to close our southern border. This from Michael Coulter. He mentioned it on Newsmax TV. He said, and I quote, "This is an invasion. If you look at the definition of invasion, this qualifies." Coulter is the former Immigration and Nationalization Service Special Agent. And if you look at the Constitution, all these lawyers running around yelling about whether President Trump is acting constitutionally, they need to read Article 4, Section 4, that guarantees that the states will be protected from invasion and domestic violence. Cutler stressed to host Brett Winterborough the caravan might not only be comprised of Latin Americans anxious for a better life in America. He also noted there's a growing problem of terrorists in Latin America. We don't even know who's in the caravan, Cutler added, moving the conversation to the need for that border wall, which is intended not to stop illegal aliens, but to stop aliens from not being vetted. When they say this border wall is about keeping Mexicans out, that's a lie. The wall will prevent aliens from entering without inspection. So the border wall is not about Mexicans. It's about the inspection process to make sure that everyone and everything get funnels through ports of entry. These illegal caravans are encouraged by the government of Honduras and the money of George Soros. Just in time for the midterm elections, another spontaneous migration from Central America began with a bunch of allegedly oppressed and downtrodden Hondurans leading the way. They were pressured by a threat from President Trump to cut aid to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador if that caravan is not stopped. Some moves by these governments have been made, we should note. Yet evidence exists that these migrations are not spontaneous, with both the governments in question encourage them as a political and economic safety valve and a source of foreign currency financed in part by foreign leftists with connections to George Soros. As Fox News' Laura Ingraham noted in a tweet, this is not a walk in a national park, but an expensive and arduous journey. Who's funding this caravan? You might want to know this. Each migrant's passage can cost as much as $7,000 each. Well, per capita income in Honduras is only $2,300 a year. It's undoubted that such sums would be coming from the kiddies' college funds. Evidence of Soros funding of an earlier spontaneous migration have been found among the tentacles of support that flow from his Open Society group. Leftist billionaire George Soros is funding these well-organized anti-Trump migrant caravan invasions from Central America that are hitting the United States-Mexico border in defiance of immigration enforcement. Several major ultra-liberal foundations and corporations have supported the asylum-seeking migrant caravan, and source funding has been tied to several groups that have spearheaded the Refugee Invasion Coalition, also dubbed the Soros Express. The hands of the Honduran government are not clean in these efforts. Among alleged asylum seekers parked on the U.S. border is a contingent of Hondurans fleeing, allegedly, persecution, poverty, crime, and oppression. If that's the case, why is the Honduran government helping them? Why are they helping drive them northward under orders given to the Honduran ambassador, who's helping and escorting them? Leaders of a caravan of Central American migrants traveling toward the United States through Mexico have repeatedly accused the Honduran government of corruption and with failing to address the poverty, crime, and economic conditions forcing these families to flee by the thousands. So it shocked some of her observers when the Honduran ambassador joined the migrants protesting outside the Honduran embassy in Mexico City last Wednesday. And then they accepted their invitation to walk 9 miles to a migrant shelter. I've been ordered by my government to support the Honduran migrants traveling with the caravan. There are about 200 Hondurans who will help you with paperwork. That a quote from Eldon Rivera Montes, the Honduran ambassador to Mexico. Ordered by my government? Why is the government, whose oppression they're allegedly fleeing, helping them leave? I'll tell you why, folks. The remittances, the money sent back by so-called migrants. Asylum's a large part of a colossal design to provide Latin American countries with a political and economic safety valve and a cash flow of foreign exchange. In 2017, the amount of money sent back to Honduras totaled $4.33 billion. And that, folks, makes up a large part of the Honduran economy. And on top of that, who do you think these people are going to vote for once they get their illegal papers? Follow up to that, northbound migrant group doubles in size as they enter Guatemala. Up to 3,000 migrants crossed from Honduras into Guatemala on a trek northward after a standoff with police in riot gear and warnings from Washington. The crowd more than doubled in size from Saturday to Monday, when some 1,300 people set off from northern Honduras in what's been dubbed March of the Migrant. The impoverished nations of Central America, from which thousands of migrants have fled in recent years, are under mounting pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump's administration to do more to curb mass migration. We are seriously concerned about the caravan of migrants traveling north from Honduras with false promises of entering the United States by those who seek to exploit their compatriots. This, the U.S. Embassy in Honduras said in a statement last Sunday night. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence last week called on presidents in the region to tackle the issue, saying Washington would be willing to help with economic development and investment in return. But what's happening? You're seeing it right now. You see, the Democrats seek to import 5 times the number of foreign refugees in the United States. The Democrats, the party of treason. Europe is dying, and the Dems are working on killing America by the same murderous policy. House Democrats' latest plan ahead of the 2018 election is to increase the number of foreign refugees currently resettled across the United States by 5 times. Folks, they're trying to get them up here. I have material in front of me that shows where, right in Texas right now, they have dummied up papers where they're already stated that they're a citizen and then mailed out. I've got more information on this. We need to put the people in Congress that will give Trump the authorization and the money to build the wall. We need to stop the illegals from coming in. We need to vet everybody and everything that comes in at controlled ports of entry. Our time to move is now. Encourage now again your friends, relatives, people you work with in the 9th down in Mecklenburg County to vote for Mark Harris. Goodbye until next week, and God bless.